cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to NFL The Betting Blitz Super Bowl edition. It is Super Bowl 60, recording here Friday afternoon leading into Sunday. It is February 6th. It will be February the 8th, 2026, a big, massive Super Bowl. It's been a long time coming. Mike and I started doing this show mid-season, and it's really jumped off. We can't believe it flew by so quickly, but here we are talking Super Bowl action. I have a hat on. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be a win, a cover, or a conversation. Mike, it is Friday afternoon. How are you feeling, brother?
Bro, I'm jacked up for this game. I mean, it's one of those spots where it's kind of like side-wise, team-wise, they're not my favorite picks to be in this thing, but these people that'll say, and I'm curious where you fall in this equation. Is it just another game? And I think the answer is not. Like a lot of people say, just bet this thing like it's any other. It's not any other game. It's the last game. And in fact, because we've had the time off, Shark, the markets are so widespread with player props now that I think we have a really tremendous advantage and opportunity to beat these books up despite it being the last game of the season. So do you fall under that adage? It's just another game. Just bet it like any other game. Or what's your thoughts about the Super Bowl?
From the actual standpoint of the line, I think the line doesn't really tell you much of a story in the Super Bowl. And I was looking at a bunch of stuff off the record earlier this week about how dogs cover in this spot at plus 4.5, 5, and all this stuff. And what it really is just the survivalism of the Super Bowl. You get last man on earth syndrome from both teams. There's zero look ahead. Nobody's reserving energy. Every single play is high electricity. And you rarely see blowouts, if we're being honest. I think this game will be tight. We're going to get into a great conversation here. If you guys are in the chat here on a Friday afternoon, crack a beer, get some coffee, hang out with us. We're going to have a great discussion. But as you mentioned, this game is such a one-off. One of the biggest intrigue points outside of obviously the side and the total is the prop market. I mean, this is an incredibly highly bet game. I mean, across the world, people just betting all sorts of stuff. You talk about anecdotal, all like the color of the Gatorade and the national anthem length, all sorts of stuff. So we're going to go through that, but we're going to give you guys the details, as always, of really the meat and bones, the real stuff, the side, the total, and some intelligent props. It will be a great conversation, and it starts right now. Sundays are for the Sharps. NFL The Betting Blitz Super Bowl 60 edition. As I said, Sundays are for the Sharps. 3:30 kickoff out west. 6:30 Eastern, Super Bowl 60, Patriots, Seahawks in Santa Clara, Levi Stadium. Second Super Bowl we've seen between these teams in the last 12 years. These teams did face off. February the 1st, 2015, in Arizona was Tom Brady against a young Russell Wilson, 28-24 Pats. And there was a Super Bowl in this stadium, actually, the year after that. In February of 2016, Peyton Manning beating a young Cam Newton and the Panthers 24-10. Under in that game, maybe some more points in this game. Let's talk the side. Pats catching plus 4.5 in this game. Both teams are playing great on the road. Mike and I were saying it before the show. Both teams are 5-1 ATS road outside of division. Same exact record. That is why they're in the Super Bowl. They are both excellent in this position. It's going to be difficult, Mike. I'm seeing plus 5.5 on a local book here in Florida. Could be a good number for the Pats. What do you think about the side?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this thing kind of sitting at 4.5. Listen, I think what's going to happen as we get, if I could pontificate on where I think the number goes, as we get closer to the actual kickoff, the public's going to come in there and start firing away on this 4.5. And I think if you can catch a 5.5, absolutely grab it, because I think that's kind of going to be in that little sweet spot of opportunity. If you like the Patriots, why wouldn't you take as many points as you can? And I suspect we'll be down to maybe 3.5 by the time we get to kickoff here. But look, I've faded them all season. I'm not going to stop now. I know it's probably crazy. It's like, it kind of has that eerily reminiscent feeling, Shark, of the Tom Brady days, where it's like, why you keep fading Tom Brady? Why keep fading Tom Brady? Why keep fading Patrick Mahomes? Why keep fading? Drake May's got to do a little bit more to show me that he can fall under that category out there. And I just think this comes down to a situation where we've got experience and then the lack thereof. And I think that's what's going to find out here with Drake May. And are there shoulder injuries that are still kind of prevalent out there and maybe hinder the way that he takes care of the football here? But we'll talk props in a minute as far as kind of where I think some of the narrative goes with this thing. But I'm on the Seahawks, and I'm not sorry about it. It's one of those things where I think they can go out and find a way to fire and get this job done. They've got I just think player for player, pound for pound, inch for inch. These guys have every advantage, every opportunity out there. Sam Darnold's like one of 5 quarterbacks in the history of the game to have back-to-back 14-win plus seasons out there. And yeah, I get it. New England, great year for these guys. They've done some really tremendous job to take just a couple years back, and then they get it back in there with Vrabel and May playing with, and they're going to have a long storied career. I don't doubt that one bit. I don't think this is a fluke or anything like that. I just think that it's time for the NFC. It's time for the Seattle Seahawks team. It's time for Sam Darnold to get his up and comings. I think that they've got the players, the offensive players. I think defensively, they've got the players. They've got all the pieces that, in my estimation, you want to get involved with to say, you know what, these are the guys. Now, I can talk to you about some trends. Sure. You want to talk about it here? If you didn't play on the road, your opponent did. You're 2-11 overall. You're 1-12 against the spread. So that would certainly be a situation that favors New England coming in here, battle tested. They came out and they fired. They're an over team. The Patriots just 10 points against the Broncos, weather and elements and condition, but 7-0 to the over if they scored less than 17 points the previous game out there. So yeah, there's some spots, but Sammy Darnold, 321 yards in the NFC Championship game and a Rams. And it's not just that he had to play the Rams and the 49ers 5 times this season, and he's come out victorious. 10-0 if they've got at least 6 days of rest, passed for at least 285 yards the previous game. So both defenses are certainly capable, but I like the Seahawks in this game. I think they cover the spread. I'm going to go one further. I think this game does start slow. I'm going to go with the first half under. I see a 23.5. I parlayed the Seattle Seahawks money line with the under 23.5 as well. So a couple ways I want to get paid on the side of this game. And as we get closer, I'm sure I'll have some more action to jump in there as well. What do you think, Shark?
Giving you guys a free play in this one. It's a Super Bowl. The buy hat is engaged. Take the Pats. And I said you can get a plus 5.5 now at minus 115. I think that's a gold number. Really, I do. I think if the Seattle wins this game, they win by the absolute most 4 points. I see a field goal game either way, if I'm being perfectly honest. And as we said, you don't see a lot of blowouts in Super Bowls, and this is just projected to be a tight game. Both teams 5-1 road outside of the division, and you can make an argument that the Pats have played a really soft schedule, beating teams like New Orleans, Tennessee, Cincinnati, Baltimore, the Jets, etc. But if you look at Seattle, it's pretty much the same conversation. Their road dominance outside of the division, Pittsburgh, Washington injured, Tennessee again entering the conversation, the Falcons, who were terrible, and Carolina. And I think both teams come into this particular game in a very unique spot, and I actually think it's more advantageous for the Patriots. The Patriots did not have a bye week, and they've played 3 consecutive games against top 5 defenses, Chargers, Texans, and Broncos. You saw in the AFC Championship game, they struggled so badly offensively at Mile High. At the end of the game, they were almost intentionally throwing the ball out of bounds instead of trying to advance the ball, just not to turn the ball over to give the Broncos good field position. That was the hardest game in the playoffs for them. It's not going to get any worse. This is neutral site. It's going to be nice in San Francisco. It's the middle of the afternoon in February. This is actually going to be an uptick in comfortability. And I think it's actually a bit of a trap for the Seahawks. People would say, how the hell is the Super Bowl a trap? I'll tell you why. Because this is so unique in terms of the schedule for the Seahawks. Their last 3 games were a road game at San Francisco to close the season at this stadium, win 13-3, a bye week, and then 2 home playoff games, both in the division, both against huge rivals, blowing out San Francisco 41-6, divisional weekend, and 2 weeks ago in the NFC Championship game, tight win, 31-27. How is the Super Bowl a trap? That's how. You just beat your 2 biggest rivals consecutively. Now you play an out-of-conference opponent. I think this is a bit of a letdown spot. I think that there's actually a significant coaching edge for the Patriots, an experience gap here. Josh McDaniels has been in Super Bowls for the last 20 years, coaching the offensive side of the ball for the Patriots. And Mike Vrabel himself, as a player, has been in numerous Super Bowls. I think the Patriots will find a way. It might not be offensively. I think it will be tight. If you can get plus 5.5, take it, and let's cash. Our guy in the chat says, is this really a defensive game? I swear, the solution, we should hire you to segue us topically here because we're going directly to the total. And I want to talk the total. I think it's become a bit of a cute, sexy narrative that this is going to be an under. The Patriots can't score. There's good defense on both sides of the ball. I think you're actually going to see more points in this game. Of course, Mike talking the under in the first half. That's only 30 minutes of football. The open season for points can certainly happen after halftime with adjustments and a bit of fatigue on the defenses going into the fourth quarter. Mike, I think you're going to see more points in this game. What do you think? Late, that is.
I like that look an absolute ton. That's why I specifically kept it to the first half, because we've seen two things. These defenses are both very strong opponents out there. They kind of play that chess match to try to figure it out. And I'm not even looking at that Denver game, that win, that side cross win and all that other shit. Take that out of the equation, though. You're talking about what the level of defense the Patriots had to play out there. And same thing with the Seahawks. And their defense came to battle. And I think that's where you see this opportunity. Slow start, Super Bowl jitters. First quarter seems like a really nice under at 7.5 to me, but I think that second half things open up. And then that's kind of tendency, right? If one team's up at the half, they're going to pull the leash off the other side, and it's going to become that kind of boxing match. We see it all the time where they point to the center of the ring and they got their fingers going down saying, let's stand and bang. And I think that's what you find out with both these teams. Kind of dark horses, maybe not supposed to be here, have absolutely nothing to lose. So go out there in that fourth quarter, particularly, give it all you got. And that's going to make 45.5 a really compelling opportunity to smack. Especially, I think you get some live betting if this first half goes the way I expect it to, Shark.
I wouldn't disagree. And of course, referencing the Super Bowl played between these teams over 10 years ago is incredibly anecdotal. But just in terms of actual game flow in the Super Bowl, that game did end up 28-24. And the score at the end of the first quarter was 0-0. There were 28 points in the second quarter. It went to halftime, 14 all, and then there was a flurry of points in the second half. But 0-0 and then 52 points in the final three quarters. And it's what you said. There's a bit of a feeling out in the first half. The defenses, first of all, are far more fresh, no fatigue, and feeling out. And, oftentimes in the regular season, we see first drive touchdowns on a regular basis, like 1 o'clock on a Sunday in October. You turn on your phone, it's like every single team is in the red zone in the first 5 minutes of the game. But this could be different. It's a high intensity game. Not only that, it's 3:30 in the afternoon. These teams do not play games at 3:30 in the afternoon. It's 1, 4, or 8 o'clock. So you're getting a funky kick time here, obviously on the Pacific Coast. I think you could see some unders early, but I do think you're going to see an explosion late. And this whole idea that because the Patriots couldn't score against the Chargers, the Texans, and the Broncos, now they just can't do anything, I think really is a fraudulent narrative. If you go back specifically to the divisional round against the Texans, Mike and I were actually talking about this a few days ago. The Texans, in my opinion, were by far the most lethal defense in the sport. And if you watched their packages week after week with the blitzing and just adjustability, rushing the passer, Drake May was absolutely clueless. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I should say, Denver had a similar scheme and obviously a great group as well. But that was really a weather game. Like, you could do absolutely nothing in the second half offensively in that game. So I think that this is, as I said, just going to be kind of like day one, an open season for some freedom to move the ball if you're the Pats. And I really think the over is a great look in this game. Speaking of the over, who's going to score? Let's talk props. I've been watching some of my guys just talk this stuff all week. I mean, we could talk about this for 3 hours. This is clearly the most prop bet game of the year by a mile. But, Mike, let's talk just yards, touchdowns, whatever. I'll throw it to you. What do you got?
Yeah, I think when you look at this game, and I talk about all the props, and it's very easy to go blow, your bankroll and crazy bets and have a lot of fun with it. But the key is to have fun. I also think you have to look at risk reward. A lot of these props have some really nice price tags to them. So, in terms of unit size and management, maybe take a unit. If your unit size is $100, maybe you take $100 and you divvy that out against your player props so that you can still have some fun, get some big scores, but also recognize that, it is one game. And so, not to talk out of both sides of the mouth there, but a couple spots that I really like. They've been cashing. We've been laughing about them on some of these live streams because they're just so freaking money. Both quarterbacks that throw an interception. They're reasonable price tags. I parlayed them together for a 2-1. That's kind of where I feel like this game kicks off. Sam Darnold, he's no stranger to throwing interceptions. This guy's gone out there this season, 14 picks on the year. That's third most. 20 turnovers overall. So New England's had 5 interceptions over the last 2 games. No way they can't see a situation where Sammy D throws the interception. And if Sam Darnold's throwing one and I expect Seattle to be ahead, why not give me Drake May and his inexperience to throw one on the other side of things out there, especially with this potential shoulder injury that's kind of looming and lurking with this guy. So that's a 2-1 pot. A 2-1 pot. I'll tell you another one I like, Shark. I like both players. The number of players to get passing attempts over 2.5. So that means that a wide receiver or running back, somebody else is throwing the football. And there's a bunch of ways that can happen, but it's a plus 160 price tag. So why not throw some cash on that thing and have a little fun with it? I like Drake May to get no passing touchdowns. As crazy as that sounds, and I know I'm biased and I'm slanted in the way this thing's going to go. A lot of guys like this Henderson player out there. And look, I get it. You want to get cute. You want to try to have some fun, but I don't see it. They've shown us the script in Seattle, and it's Ramondre Stevenson. And I could be wrong. And certainly that's very capable and plausible. I've been wrong before, Shark, but this guy got 5 total snaps last week. Stevenson had 25 carries in the AFC Championship. So think about that as you're looking at your Henderson props. Henderson had just 4 total snaps the entire game. And there was a lot of opportunity to keep that ball on the ground. So you got to give that some consideration. Look, Kyren Williams and the Rams, he busted him up. He was running all over the place. So I like some Stevenson props. As far as some touchdowns, Shark, I'm going to go with a little creative one here. I like AJ Barner. My brother and I have been talking about this guy since, 6 weeks ago or so. It seems like we've had a lot of showcase games. And it's because of the way that they push and quarterback sneak that I think Barner's the play to be able to get out there, especially if we see this ball comes down to the 1-yard line. We'll see this guy gets the carry, gets the option, gets in there and scores the touchdown. So nice looking prop for this guy. Also, and I'll give you 2 more spots. I like defense. I'm going to take both defenses to score a touchdown. I just talked about Sam Darnold's ability to throw interceptions. I certainly believe the same thing on the Drake May side, or I wouldn't be parlaying those 2 guys to throw picks. If they're good to throw picks, why not see him get into the end zone? I think we've seen 25 defensive scores over like the last 30 years, something to that effect. I read a stat on that. So I like that. And this is going to bring me to the big bang here to finish her off. If you're looking at this thing, you got to look at it this way. If the defense can score a touchdown, why can't we see a defense end up winning the MVP at this whole package here? Sam Darnold inexperienced, Drake May inexperienced. Why not see a defensive touchdown? If you're a Patriots guy, you've seen that before. We've seen Butler out there go out and find his way to be the Super Bowl MVP, and any defensive player plus 1,500, 1,600. So there's some really big value on the MVP side of this thing. Also, I look at it and said, you know what? Why not take a specific player? And at that case, I was talking to Shark about this backstage. I mean, you got to look at guys like Ellis and Williams. If you're going to pick a specific player, they're like 150 to 1 to get the Super Bowl MVP. If you can play in a prop state where you can put those guys in there to score touchdowns, they are the cornerback and lineman aficionados for these 2 teams out there. They get the most defensive play. Also happen to be some of the most bet, tackle, and assist guys, Woodson, Hawkins, Ellis, and Williams. So give that some consideration. Defense to win the MVP, Shark. You think we can see it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you could see anything in this game. I mean, like part of the intrigue of the Super Bowl is that it really is just such a one-off and anything can happen. But just jumping off that, I think we're going to see more passing yards than people expect as well. Going to give you guys a play in this one. Prop play. Darnold and May combined pass yards over 450. And you can get that right around minus 120. And I think it's just a nice bet to win, obviously, but also just to root for. You know, as long as you're not a diehard Pats fan or Seahawks fan, you're rooting for the game. You want to see a good game. That's a great bet. You know, you get both teams scoring and you get a lot of pass yards. And again, I think it's just a really sharp buy low, particularly on the Patriots side of this. And let's go back to that's their conversation. If you go through the last couple games here, and speaking of passing yards and bottoming out in Denver, May had 268 against the Chargers, only 179 against the Texans. And last week, he had 86 passing yards in Denver. He might as well have been like a high school quarterback. And as we said, like in the 4th quarter, their offensive scheme was literally drop back, throw the ball out of bounds. Just don't turn the ball over. And now all of a sudden you get an 86-yard game, and his pass yard prop total is sitting around 230 yards. It's what we're saying. This is coming through every angle within this conversation. You're going to see more points in this game. And speaking of this inflation in points and yards, going to give you guys a prop Receiving over for the Patriots, Mac Hollins over 40 or 32 yards. What's the line now here? I might have actually dropped down a little bit. Hollins. You can get 27, over 27 at minus 115. And what this is Mac Hollins being the type of player, in my opinion, that's going to show up big in the Super Bowl and make a name for himself. This guy has a huge personality. He is an absolute gamer. And if you actually go through the history of the Patriots in the Super Bowl with Josh McDaniels calling plays, there's always guys that just pop up out of nowhere in the Super Bowl and perform for the Patriots that you haven't really seen as like their top guys during the regular season. And of course, he's been their third receiver during the season behind Diggs and Keyshawn Booth. And this is just what the Patriots do. I mean, there was a great clip that came out earlier this week of Brady and McDaniels having some sort of conversation on the sideline during a Super Bowl like a decade ago saying like, wow, wasn't that pretty cool? We put in that play like last night. That's what they're going to do. They're going to adjust their playbook. You're going to see stuff that you haven't seen, like trick plays, different stuff. And just going on that, you're talking about Trevian Henderson. He's been very, I would say, uninvolved in the playoffs so far. It's been largely the Ramondre Stevenson's show. But those are all in-conference games, just, these bogged down, low-scoring games. I mean, the one last week, 10-7, like nothing going on. I think Henderson functions better in an open style of game, which we're projecting here, and he'll get into his flow. And if you remember, even going back, last year in the national championship game in college, he played great. So I think you're going to see Trevian Henderson actually kind of bust out of this slump. But I think it's not even necessarily like a personal slump on his part. I think it's just the previous games didn't really like lend themselves to where he functions well as a player. So I think Henderson also has quite a bit of access here in all markets, receptions being notable. If you look at his receptions over, you're sitting at 2, and you can actually get that at plus odds, plus 201. So I think that's actually a pretty electric price there. Our guy, Mr. Wesker, says Patriots money line. Yeah, a lot going on there. Mike, anything else in the prop market?
Shark, heads or tails?
I should flip a coin to flip a coin.
Tails never fails, dude. Come on.
I'll flip heads or tails, and I'll say if it's tails, it's heads, tails. I don't know. I think we'll go with heads. Feeling just the normal side of things in this game. But yeah, so those are my top 2 props. Darnold may combine points over and Hollins over. And I do think Trevian Henderson will get involved. And even just going back just off the top of my head, going back to some of the Super Bowls last decade, secondary running backs for the Patriots actually were very effective as well. It was always the guy, like the third down back, that all of a sudden scores the first touchdown or gets featured in the run game far more. So I think that Henderson is going to have a game here. Anything else, Mike? I think we're giving you guys a pretty thorough rundown here.
I love it. That just shows you the quality of the show. We don't all have to agree. I say tails, Shark says heads. That's what you get here with a suddenly not so casual Friday, breaking down the big game, the big time of the year. I'll give you guys one more. I like Drake May to get 100 or more passing yards in any quarter. It's a plus 150 price tag. Got to be selective, you guys. Make sure you're getting them plus money spots where you can. And I think this is that spot. Shark talked about that fourth quarter, the second half of this game being electric. And I think that's where Drake May can open it up in beautiful weather. Leash comes off, throwing it all over the yard. 150 plus 150 for 100 or more passing yards out there for you guys. That's the last little prop bet to get you guys paid. It's been a fun time, Shark. It's been a fun year. I can't believe we're already through the NFL, but I'm looking forward to greener pastures and greener ballparks.
Absolutely. It's crazy how fast these seasons go by, but truthfully, next year we're going to be on there every week, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Just one final point on this psychological element for the Seahawks. I was talking to Mike about this, and this is not even professional football, but it does apply. And I was thinking back to situations where teams played massive divisional rivals deep in their own conference playoffs, and then tanked and lost in the championship round. One that just came to my mind earlier this week was actually in baseball. And if you guys remember, the Yankees and the Red Sox had a huge rivalry right around the turn of the century, and it was the biggest rivalry in the sport by a mile. And if you go back to the 2003 season, the Yankees actually beat the Red Sox in 7 games, the Aaron Boone walk-off. and went to the World Series and then lost to the Marlins in the World Series. And sometimes in sports, the biggest emotional games don't happen out of conference in the championship game. They happen in your conference championship against your arch rival. And I really do think there's something to be said about that. Seattle just beating their two biggest rivals back to back at home to close the conference season and advance to the Super Bowl. So I just think you could see the Patriots sneak out a dub in this one. Mike, that is pretty much it. One final point on the total here that I wanted to put in here on record. These teams actually did play last year early season, so we do have year 1 to year 2 matchup analysis. Of course, it was different quarterbacks, but books take that into account in terms of the franchises and adjust the lines, and that is what line functionality is. It's all the things taken into account put into the line, and the line telling you a story. Week 2 last year, Seattle played at New England. Geno Smith and Jacoby Brissett. Seattle beat the Patriots in overtime 23-20. Seattle was favored by 3 points on the road, and the total was 39. And that is the key point, 39. This opens up 46.5. It's a contrarian over. I have 54 points in the game. A lot of official plays, Mike. Let's just drop the best bets. Sundays are for the Sharps. NFL The Betting Blitz, Super Bowl 60. The Shark and Mikey Money. A pleasure. Give us the best bets. You're muted.
Oops, that's a glorious way to get her done. Seahawks in the first half under 23.5 plus 128. Drake May to get 100 plus any quarter at plus 150. AJ Barner touchdown at plus 240. I'm going to give you guys one more prop here. This is going to be a little crossover prop. It's a lot of fun here, but makes a lot of sense. UFC Fight Night takes place on Saturday. We'll be live for that broadcast and play-by-play, best bets and the rest. Total takedowns in the Almeida Kanaya battle. Plus 110 over the number of passing touchdowns by Sam Darnold out there. Both these guys are takedown heavy, wrestle them, bring them to the mat type of guys out there. So Almeida Kunaev, plus 110, more takedowns than Sam Darnold touchdown passes. Why not? Take a little fun. Let's have some fun with it, Shark. What do you got?
Absolutely. I'll give you guys the side and a total and 2 props. We're taking New England at plus 5.5. You can get that at minus 115. Seattle, New England over 45.5. Mac Hollins over receiving yards 27, and Darnold and May combined pass yards over 450. It's about 30 minutes of Super Bowl 60. We usually come on here, we rip 60 minutes of about 15 games. That's 30 minutes of one game. Try not to waste any time with props that are total flyers. Of course, we know you guys will have probably a card of 100 plays, getting some wings, some beer, hanging out, just spraying the board. Great game to spray the board, but always bet responsibly. You don't want to dust off your bankroll betting things that actually are complete lottery tickets and have very little predictability. We're trying to give you guys the best predictability. That's, I believe, 8 free plays, 8 top plays, and it is an opportunity to dominate. Mike, give them a few words, and I'll close them out.
Respect. Appreciate everybody that joined us this season. Yeah, we started late in the season, but it took us some opportunity to find our guys and get them in the right spot. So we did that here. You look for a big 2026 from your guy, the Shark and Mikey Money. Going to have a lot of fun with you guys this year. Make sure you smash the thumbs up. Subscribe to the Sports Money Network if you haven't done so already. We're putting out content on a daily basis. Best bets, sports picks, none of that other fluff and thrill. It's just about getting the kill from the bookies. And you can do that with Sports Money Network. So appreciate you, my guy Shark. Looking forward to a big 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us for, I believe, like the last 10 or 12 weeks here. Next year we'll be in full, and we're looking at a baseball show. Myself and Mikey Money starting in April, probably every day around noon Eastern, and that will be incredible to really be on there on a daily basis. We appreciate you guys immensely. Have a great Friday afternoon into Saturday, and of course, Super Bowl Sunday. Always bet responsibly. Keep it centered so you do not lose wagers on stuff that does not have a lot of predictability. But as we said, predictability is available in this game. We like the Pats in the game and the over. It is an opportunity to dominate. For Mike, I am the Shark. Stay fast, stay strong, stay disciplined, and let's dominate.